The next line of the prayer of St. Francis is, "Where there is darkness, light." In the original French version, the line reads, "Where there is darkness, let me put light." If I were to translate the French today, I might write, "Where there is darkness, let me bring light," or "Let me replace darkness with light." In the Bible, light is the first thing that God creates. Into the darkness, God says, "Let there be light." And so light becomes the symbol of God's presence, and darkness the symbol of God's absence. Even today in our traditional worship services, the lit candles on the altar remind us of the presence of the Holy Spirit. And in our sanctuary, there is the eternal light that hangs above our chancel, reminding us of God's eternal presence with us. To be in darkness was to be in a frightening place, a place of isolation, of helplessness, confusion, lost and directionless, grief, even punishment. Clearly, darkness is a place to be avoided. But sometimes we are thrust into the darkness by circumstances and situations beyond our control, or the unintended consequences of our own choices, or the unintended consequences of someone else's choices. As a pastor, it is interesting to me that sometimes people prefer to live in the darkness rather than embracing the light. Naomi was like that. Her story is told in the first few chapters of the book of Ruth in the Old Testament. Naomi and her husband and 2 sons lived in Bethlehem, but a famine came, and they immigrated to Moab, where their sons married 2 Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. In a relatively short period of time, Naomi's husband died, and then her 2 sons. With nothing left for her in Moab, Naomi decides to return to her people in Bethlehem. At first, both Orpah and Ruth go with her. Naomi convinces Orpah to stay in Moab, but Ruth insists on going away with Naomi. When they arrive in Bethlehem, the folks there think that they recognize Naomi, but somehow she looks different. One former neighbor works up the courage to call out, "Naomi, is that you?" Naomi turns and says, "Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara, because God has dealt bitterly with me." By the way, Naomi means pleasant, and Mara means bitter. Tell us how you really feel, Mara. Naomi chose to live in the darkness of her bitterness and grief, rather than embrace the light of the love of her former neighbors and her daughter-in-law. Not everybody is a Naomi, though. Most people who are living in darkness really want to be embraced by the light of your comforting presence, of your comforting words, or your acts of kindness, or your words of hope and encouragement. In a society where few of us even know our own neighbors, and we value privacy above engagement, be the exception. Don't leave those who are living in darkness to be suffocated by it. Where there is darkness, bring light.